Hello from us at Holy Trinity Church in Maisons-Laffitte. It's the fourth Sunday of Lent, and today we will be talking about nurturing new life. Our readings today are from 1 Samuel chapter 1, Colossians chapter 3, verses 12 to 17, and Luke chapter 15. I'd encourage you, if at all possible, to pause the recording to read those. They include the stories of a young Samuel being brought to serve at the temple and the parable of the prodigal son. Well, I don't know if you, in growing up or your professional or personal life, have ever had somebody who believed in you before you believed in yourself. Do you know what I mean? Somebody who sees potential in you that you have no idea exists. And then they nurture it, because life flourishes when it's nurtured, doesn't it? John C. Maxwell, a leadership expert, says people grow best when someone believes in them. That's a beautiful thing, but nurturing others comes more naturally to some of us than others. When I was starting on a professional team nearly 20 years ago, we took a Strengths Finder test to identify what our leadership strengths were. There were 34 potential strengths, and there was something called developer. Now, I was very sad that this didn't come out as one of mine, but I have been working on it, and it connects beautifully to today, Mothering Sunday. For those of us not from the UK or a Church of England background, Mothering Sunday is not a celebration of mothers. It's actually about nurturing growth and encouragement in the Christian life, being thankful for what we've received and thinking about what we might give. Because as Christians, we are all called to nurture others, guiding, supporting, and helping them grow. You might remember that the Apostle Paul exhorted the Hebrews by saying, "Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, encouraging one another." Is nurturing or being a developer a strength of yours? If you're not sure, these are two characteristics. One, a developer recognizes and nurtures potential in others. And two, they take joy in seeing others grow and develop. As I've already said, our two examples for today are one from the Old Testament, a mother, Hannah, in 1 Samuel 1, and the other, a father, in Luke 15, the prodigal son. And they show us that what it means to nurture new life, but they also show us that it was costly. This costliness, however, and generosity ultimately points us to the patient and costly investment God makes in us. So let's think about this in terms of, for example, what a developer is. We said that this type of person believes that everyone can grow and succeed with the right support. That's so positive, right? Hannah nurtured Samuel not because of who he was, but because he was her son. Parents do this, don't they? We love a child before that child has ever achieved anything, when their personality isn't even fully apparent or maybe not fully formed. A nurturer, a developer, has very discerning eyes, kind of like a sports talent spotter. They can see strengths and talent in others even when they are not fully developed. Samuel, by the time he was just 3 to 5 years old, which was the common age in the Near East at the time for weaning, had already benefited from Hannah's nurturing, pouring out of herself into him, which she had done so that he could be well physically, emotionally, and spiritually. She did pray for him, knowing that all her efforts needed God to make them fruitful. And we know from 1 Samuel how incredibly fruitful they were. There is so much power in early influence. Anybody who works with young children or teenagers, you are having an impact beyond the time you spend with them. But it can be true for all of us, can't it? Small acts of encouragement and guidance and belief in someone else, they can shape a whole future. Somebody who's a developer also is somebody who celebrates small wins. I really love this. They find joy in minor improvements and milestones. And I really can picture Hannah as a mother of a young child doing this because, well, what are kids learning at the time? Well, there's all kinds of things psychologically and emotionally that are shaped in us, but some of them are really physical and easy, like helping a toddler walk. What do we do when we're helping a toddler walk? Well, basically, we cheer every little success. We make light of failures. We say, that's not a problem. Get up, try again. We're convinced they can learn to do it and do it well. So instead of focusing on critique, a nurturer believes in the potential of others and they speak encouragement. And then a time comes, doesn't it? This in Samuel and Hannah's case, it comes so early, right? She lets go of him and trusts God. Weaning Samuel marked his transition to some form of independence. And Hannah is such an amazing example in letting go, not holding on indefinitely, but knowing when there's a time to release and trust God and his plan. And this can be emotionally costly. Nurturing the life that others have and their growth and their gifts and what they can give, it means supporting growth beyond ourselves. And that can be challenging because it means we might have to have our eyes fixed on the well-being of the other person without constantly calculating in the back of our minds how their growth or our investment in their growth might negatively impact us because it costs. That's challenging, I find. And that kind of brings us on to the father in the prodigal son. And this I really think of in terms of a nurturer, developer, and having a long-term vision for the other person. Don't know if you know, but at Holy Trinity, we've been running a parenting teenagers course. And one of the main principles for this parenting teenagers course is keeping the end in mind. And if we take nothing else away from that course, it hopefully will be this, which means thinking about the long-term goals for our son or daughter rather than being just focused on the little nitty-gritty of today's struggles. And this requires hugely patient investment in the other person's growth. And that's exactly what the Father does in Luke 15. It's an incredibly long-term perspective, incredibly costly investment. His son is a young adult who callously demands his inheritance. I'm not sure we realize how incredibly painful this was. It was like slapping his dad and saying, I wish you were dead. Go away. Just give me the money. And then he does just this. He takes the money, turns his back, walks off, and squanders it with one wasteful decision after another. I feel for this dad so much. What does this father do? It is surprising. We don't see him crying for himself. No, he hands over the inheritance. He doesn't run after his son, gives him his freedom. And he doesn't rush to fix anything when things go wrong. That's so hard to do when you're deeply invested in another person, isn't it? Leaving them to live before God rather than accountable to us, trusting that God is at work. And again, I see a parallel with the Parenting Teenagers course because it says sometimes you have to allow someone to make mistakes because the long-term goal is that they become independent, resilient individuals. And sometimes that requires what we see this father having to do, which is wait. The son goes away and then nothing. The father waits and waits and waits until the son realizes for himself that he's gone wrong, and he walks home. And then we get to a final point about this father that I think is one of the most important characteristics of a nurturer. When the son comes home, that's when the father runs. And his response to this son isn't just forgiveness for taking the money, forgiveness for turning his back on him, forgiveness for wasting the money. No, the father goes a step further, and he restores him as his son and gives him a new life. A key part about investing in somebody else and developing their growth is helping someone else get past mistakes. Never throwing them back in their face or making them a continual topic of mockery. Richard Branson, founder of Virgin Group, said, "Don't be embarrassed by your failures. Learn from them and start again." And the way we respond to others' failures really makes a difference. It can either hinder or help new life. It can foster growth or kill all desire to try. Sometimes it helps to have a light heart while we do this. Thomas Edison said, "I haven't failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Challenging. As we journey through Lent, we remember that Jesus perfectly embodied this developer-nurture ideal. On earth, he nurtured his disciples, patiently guiding them, challenging them, giving them opportunities. He believed in them long before they believed in themselves. And today, Jesus invests in us at great personal cost. As we go towards Easter, we remember that his ultimate investment in us was dying on the cross. This is incredible. He doesn't hold our failures against us, does he? Each day, he's ready to invest in us again with a clean slate. God really believes in us. If we have no other human being who believes in us, God believes in us. He loves us as we are. He sees potential in who we can become. He makes a lifetime investment in us, giving us freedom to grow, to fail, to learn, and to return. May God help us all this week remember his love, his hope, his freedom that he offers each day. May he help us likewise to generously invest in and nurture those around us this week. Amen.